Got the record button hit. So yeah, we on, man.
All right, hold on one second.
Dude. What the hell was that?
So we all.
Yeah, we on, bro. Let's
All
go
right,
get started, man.
all right. What's going on, Facebook family?
Don't forget YouTube.
And YouTube, and our YouTube family. Once again, we're back. Two members of the Three-Headed Monster. Hopefully, we'll have our third member on shortly. We're going to discuss today part 2 of social injustice.
Yeah.
And what do we need to do to have social justice? As always, this is our opinions, that which we speak. These are our thoughts. So don't believe anything that we tell you. Anything that you hear, go research it for yourself. Come back. Let's discuss it. Let's politic. Let's build. And let's go further. So starting out today, it's just me and my partner. So what's going on, B?
Yo, what's good, y'all? You know, brother Brian, aka, that's Silverback. We bringing it live. Peace out to the Facebook family. Peace out to the YouTube family. Check us out on, Anubius, the three-headed Anubius icon on Three-Headed Monster podcast on YouTube. We still continuing this and this injustice. Not saying when it comes to criminal, when it comes to courts, the way the laws are picked, but just the vibration of just how this country is, or not saying the vibration, or just say the energy that we see on a daily basis, and it's not healthy. It's not healthy that we got to bring our kids up into craziness. And how do we protect? It's hard.
Right.
It's hard to try to want to. You strive. You try to push your children to be better. We try to, you know, make them adopt this culture because
Yeah.
this is not our culture.
Right.
It's like we try to, try to influence our culture, and it still get kicked back to us as no, we don't want that shit here. Um, are we heading backwards as a country, or is this that, that point when you you at the bottom? So it's strange, you can say our parents, our grandparents, they
Hey, you freezing
had
up
to
a little
deal
bit.
with this, and it's something that is deep.
Can you hear me? B, can you hear me? You're freezing up. I think you froze up on us. We'll let you work out the video.
We was taught
Can you
to
hear me?
be this,
B. B, can you hear me? I think you froze up on us, but we'll keep it going. I think what he was talking about with social injustice is we're talking about the climate of America right now, as far as the culture in which we live and the culture in which we teach our children. The culture which is taught inherently, that which we don't even know that we're teaching. I think these are some of the things that we're going to go forward with and discuss tonight, just to see how we're all affected and see what we need to do to change what's normal for us, what we have normalized as a culture. We're going to try to get Brian back on here. I think we lost him momentarily. I know he's the host on here. Let me see if I can find him somewhere. See if we can get him back on. It may be his internet. So we'll just go forward until he can get back on with social justice. He asked a question before he left off. He said, "Is America going backwards?" And if there's anybody that likes to chime in, leave some comments. Hopefully we can get to as many questions tonight as we can, because what we like to do with this, I like to say podcast, is that we like to keep it like a barbershop type discussion, barbershop type conversation. You know, anybody can say what's on your mind, take it wherever you want to take the conversation, as long as that's inside of your thought patterns. So, like I said tonight, if anybody got questions, please feel free to get on. Feel free to drop some comments, if you will. But I think we're getting back on. There he is. What's up, B? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? I think his audio is connecting. So, can you hear me, B?
Yeah, man. I don't know what just happened.
Yeah, you was talking and it froze up, and I was trying to get your attention, but you were froze up.
No, my internet just went down. Oh, man.
Yeah, that's we're live. But anyway, you were talking about is America going backwards?
Yeah, because it's a scary sight to see. Like, and I was saying is, you know, our grandparents, you know, maybe our parents, you know, was built to withstand this type of tension, you
Right.
know. And, you know, as we come up, we didn't really have to deal with it as much as they had to, especially our grandparents and our great grandparents.
Right.
Now it's kind of like, how do you raise your kids in this culture that we in? Is so messed up that it's heartbreaking, but at the same time, we know what we need to do, but as a people, we don't know what we need to do. And that's the part that we got to come together and come to a certain understanding and agreement on what causes or where do we go forth from here. And I think that's something that as a people we lack. Put in the refrigerator bag, I'm sorry. So that's the part that's the frustrating part, because it's like you got some people thinking it's okay. Some people's like, I don't see no problems. You know, that certain one person, you know, Miss Owens, who the hell listens to that damn woman? You know? But at the same time, I mean, we see that this is not our culture. This ain't who we supposed to be. We are peace-loving people, and we turning ourselves. We adopted a culture that's, you know, animalistic, and it's kind of hard to get out of something that you've been in it for 400 years, and we need our ancestors' help. How about that?
That's true. Now, I'd like the time period part is what throws me off, is because, you know, we always say 400 years of this, 400 years of that, but really it's not been 400 years. It's been a shorter time period, maybe 200, 250. But, and the reason why I say that, B, is because you can start to track back when you lost your culture, when you lost a hold of good standing in America. Well, we'll get into it a little bit later, but it's something I want to expand upon one of the points you're talking about. But when you said is America going backwards, I think America's going in the direction that it wants to go. As far as backwards, I don't think. I think it's progressing in the way that it has been aimed for the last 200 years. Let me ask you this: what is our culture?
Ooh, and that's a what is our culture? Because we so mixed with different cultures, because we still have indigenous culture, and then we have an African culture that's mixed in to a European culture. So it's kind of like we got a mixture of different things put into one.
Okay.
What I mean is, because we peace loving people, we 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 listen to the elders, we listen to our ancestors, we try to find out what, what problem solving is that they did, and we study our history, we learn
Right.
about our true history, we understand our history. It's like, what is history? Yeah.
Right.
Not only that, is who's teaching you your history?
Right.
Just our history at all. We just learn a history. We learn his story about what this and this and that. Because you do make a good point. Oh, you make a good point about 200 years. That's, like I say, I can just go back and say we lost it. 1776 is our last stronghold.
Right. Right. I mean, that's where I would say you did on it with that. It's interesting we talk about culture. When we attribute, when we studied, most cultures started from an indigenous background. So a lot of the culture that we said is other people's culture was actually our culture that we just lost control of, if you will, that we quit building upon. Maybe because we moved on, maybe because we were expelled from their history. But the culture, our culture has been misaligned by a European mindset. Does that make sense? Because it's a good culture, it's just been misaligned by a European mindset.
And I agree with you. It's true. And a lot of their culture and a lot of their history is not true. A lot of European history is not true.
Right.
You know, and it's kind of funny because I was talking to my neighbor, and when they asked him, what is he or anything, he says his ancestors are Phoenicians. And it's like, Phoenicians, never heard of that before. And there's no different in it. He's like, when we can say anything about Moorish history and and what Moorish history brought to history period,
Right.
we'd be like, no, you mean Egyptian history, or we even say Egyptian history when we need to say Kemet, because that's the starting point, or even Nubia. Well, it's Kemet, then Nubia, and then Nubia, then becomes Egypt. Egypt is a mixture of African and European. Am I right? Because you're smiling. Are you smiling at me? Smiling at me? Am I saying it right now? Are you smiling?
No. I mean, it is, Egypt did become a mixture of Greek, Assyrian, Mesopotamian, and of course the remnants of African culture. But I mean, I hate to get into my Nile Valley brothers, but there are older settlements, there are older civilizations that have been found on the earth and in the Nile Valley, even on the continent of Africa. in South Africa, they have what they call civilization or villages, monuments that date like 200,000 years ago. So that's why I'm always skeptical with history, because it's who's the flavor of the month. Is this usually talking the most? Like
True, true. Just saying, I mean, like today, Labor Day.
right,
Study your history on Labor Day. You might be a little bit proud, you know, because I mean, it started as it's kind of came together because of us, but you won't know that because they're not going to teach you that, But at the same time, I mean, it's saddening because we in a country right now. We've been taught that we all came here on a slave ship, so we're thinking it's not our country.
right,
When you have a people that is constantly trying to push you out of somewhere, when they say they brought you here,
right,
nothing ain't adding up. Something is not adding up.
right.
Basically, they are trying to push us out of something that we created.
True.
So we might say we're United States citizen. Basically, we built America. We was here. Stop going by that history that the Native Americans, which is part true, did come across the Bering Strait, but we was already here.
Right.
But at the same time, that history is so erased, like European history is being erased. African history is being erased because we under a culture that we don't understand why they're trying to white out everything. Not only, I mean, as a whiteout is they're trying to teach you something that you're not. In other words, you gotta understand when you're coming from a savage culture and then they turn around and they teaching you how to be savage, you become savage.
I get that. I tell you what's interesting too, because of the way the school system is designed. It's really that it's not that they're not teaching you culture. It's really that they're omitting who it is that they're talking about. So if they just give you a random name in your mind because you've never been taught about anybody melanated doing anything great, you attribute what's great to the non-melanated people. And that which is nothing, you attribute it to yourself. And when you never see yourself as great, you never see yourself as powerful, you never see yourself as cultured, you never see yourself as civilized, then you don't act in those manners.
Mm.
And so you assume and you attribute yourself to being a savage. That's why they put out the Tarzan movies, to show you that white man could even be born in the jungle and still be more cultured than you, still be more civilized than you. He can come there and start talking to animals, and you've been there 100,000 years. You can't even speak monkey. So, so it's all subliminal mind. You've been indoctrinated through your mind that you're not anything. So when you hear the word Phoenician, what do you think? You think Middle Eastern. You don't think North African. You see what I'm saying? When you hear Carthaginian, you don't think Middle Eastern. Or you think Middle Eastern, but you don't think North African. So when you hear Barber, you don't think North African. You don't think about those things. So,
And that whole Middle Eastern thing is even
made up.
a whole another thing that's made up.
Made up.
What was it? Was it 1960? In the 1960s is when the
1930s.
1930s. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's right. After World War One.
Yeah, yeah.
So another question I had, and it's something that bothers me, is normalizing us being killed on TV.
Right.
But you never see a person of non-melanated color killed on TV at all.
You talking about as far as like the news?
Yeah, when it comes to media,
Okay.
it's so they make so much money off of just watching us being executed. No different than watching us doing the whole slave, the 60s, not the 60s, but 30s to 20s of being. It's kind of like a new form of lynching, community lynching, community.
Right.
And the reason why I say that is because you will show it over and over and over. Well, if you go back and study the community lynchings, and we have to understand, which you can talk about, is who is being lynched. It wasn't like, oh, we found this Negro over here and we're gonna lynch him. No, a lot of times when it's a community lynching, it's some power behind it. For you to have a picnic and watching, you have hundreds of people watching a certain Negro being lynched is making a political statement.
Exactly. And they were usually business owners. It's interesting that the word picnic was actually stretched out. It was pick a nick, it's pick a nigga. And that's what oh, it's funny. You ever watch like Yogi Bear?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm talking about? Listen to how he says picnic. He doesn't say picnic, he says pick a nick. He does. He expresses 3 syllables when he says the word. Just think about it. Go back and watch it. You'll see it.
Dude, they do so much in these old cartoons that we don't ever pay no attention to because
Right, right.
cartoons, and then now it's becoming that again. So the media is only pushing Black death. They don't push, you know, you hear somebody getting shot. I mean, think about it. What happened in March? We talking about it now.
Right.
The news get it, and now all of a sudden, no, we got to put this on. We got to put this on. And what happens? You get civil unrest. You see us getting tired of this happening.
Yeah. I mean, we get tired of, but here's the interesting thing. You said community lynching.
Mm-hmm.
So that means like when they kill somebody, like say they hung and lynched somebody back in the day, where did they hang them at? They would hang them in your community. So you would see them. So you would learn from it. So you would, but why did they do the picnics? They did that to desensitize white people
And they kids.
and their children. And so that's what they're still doing. They're showing these Black deaths all the time to desensitize you to the death. Yeah, you may get upset. Because think about it like this. Brother George Floyd.
Mm-hmm.
What was it people were upset about?
Him doing it for he's pleading for his life for 8 minutes.
Life. But they were upset because of the way he was killed.
Yeah.
Not that he was killed, but because the way he was killed. You put a knee on his neck. Why are we not just upset that they killed a brother in front of a crowd of people? But we've become so desensitized. Now we have to up the ante on how they were killed or how they were left in the street or what happened to the body just for us to be concerned.
Or like when Michael Brown's body was left on the street for hours.
Hours.
Hours left on the street.
Right. The hot pavement.
And or for instance, the latest situation that happened in Wisconsin. We see them sit there and watch them pull 7 shots. We watched it. Not this is disturbing. We're gonna show you what happened.
Exactly.
Versus to make you feel like, okay, this shit is happening on a daily basis. And
right.
For you to, for one, be scared.
Fear.
Because do I get scared when the police get behind me? Yeah.
Right.
Doing right or wrong, it doesn't matter. It's the fact, it's the fear that all right, these dudes about to do something crazy. Who knows what's really getting ready to get, what's about to go down. And that's the part that's the frustrating part about this whole notion of, you know, the militarization of police. They're your United States Army. That's your military for your it's it's like your slave runners or your slave patrol.
I mean, that's what they developed from.
Keep these dudes in line. Heavily put the police in because what happens and most people don't understand is a lot of these cities, especially Detroit. What was Detroit, say 40, 50 years ago? The auto, mecca of the United States. So that means everybody's working.
Yeah.
That dies out. So that means there's no jobs. Camden, another place. When you start taking major factories and sending them overseas, what happens with especially for instance where we're from, the cotton mills was gone.
Right.
Look how many cotton mills between Gaffney and Forest City.
Right.
Those cotton mills in South Carolina and North Carolina, they're gone. And a lot of people has been working there since they were 17, 18, and they didn't ever think about I needed to get more education because you never know what might happen.
Right.
So crime comes in areas that has no jobs, no nothing.
Exactly.
And people needs to understand that we seen it happen in the Bronx in the 70s when there's no jobs and you stuck and you you're stuck, but you don't know how to get out of it.
Right.
You do you're in survival mode. So when you see all these crimes happening, it's survival mode. And
Glad you said that.
we and that's how we do, and that's how we're living in a survival mode. Now we push for education. We try to push our children to be smarter. We teach our kids to try to be more polite or more respectful to you know to their surroundings, and it's hard, man. It's hard for you to tell your kids sometimes you have to stand up. If you see something wrong, stand up. Now is if you see something wrong, you stand up. On this now is they shoot you and then they ask questions later.
Exactly.
So that fear comes back into play. And that's the sad part about this shit.
See, here's my thing, man. Is like as far as when you talk about the fear factor, I think fear is being promoted in the United States because that's to me. There's some simple things you need to look at. When you join the military, you get training. They may train you for 3 months. Once you're out in the field of combat, you understand the rules of engagement, and you're much more disciplined in war than you are in a situation when you're just being pulled over for a routine traffic stop. Um, and I don't understand how a soldier can be trained to be disciplined and be in a situation where bullets are flying, grenades are being launched, but yet you still have the discipline to know when to shoot, when not to shoot. So you can pull me over for one of my tail lights being out, and when you get out of your car, you're scared to death to talk to me about a tail light being out. You have to draw your gun to talk to me about a tail light being out. When yet a soldier is trained, bullets can be flying at his head to stay calm in the situation that you're in. So either 6 months of training as a police officer is not or is 6 weeks, maybe 6 weeks of training.
I think it's 8 weeks. I think it's
8 weeks.
8 weeks.
8 weeks of training clearly is not enough time to be trained as a police officer.
Not only that, it's the psyche. Some dudes ain't built to be it.
But I'm saying,
but go ahead.
Be in fear for your life at a traffic stop. You know, I don't think the percentage is way out that much. You know, so training, training, and that mindset. I think they need to incorporate a psych eval with that to make sure you're psychologically stable to be on that job. Why did you get into police officer? To be a police officer? Was it to take back some authority that you didn't have when you were in school? Is it to take back some of the authority that you didn't have in your life? And so I think training at the front end is the most important, because officers now, you are what you are. I don't care what kind of training you get. You know, you are what you are. So
But for a lot of them, it's more of a ego boost.
that's
Or
what I'm saying. You know, what happened to you when you were in school? Were you the kid that was picked on?
because and not only that is you put people who've never been around other people or not been in, they're not being used to being in that type of environment. For instance, if you grew up middle class or you grew up a little that upper echelon, and then you become a police officer, and all right, we're gonna put you in the ghetto. We're gonna put you in the projects. You don't know how to relate,
Right,
and it's just respect. Nobody respects nobody no more. Period.
right,
If you respect me as a fellow citizen, I mean, do I need to have veteran on the bumper sticker? I am a veteran on the back of my car just for you to look at me differently? Or I hate this notion because I've been told, you know, the therapy when I go to, well, Brian, you look intimidating. You always looking like, you know, this and this. It's like, dude, you don't understand the world that I've been in because I have been through some shit of social injustice. I mean,
right,
not only are we coming out of the damn South, especially
right.
South Carolina, North Carolina, being in North Dakota, North Dakota's a. You see the Trump supporters now.
Right.
In the '90s, that's what I had to deal with. That's what I had to deal with when you go downtown and you bumping your music because that's what we do. I mean, come
Right,
on, I'm a 19, 20, 21-year old, you know, kid. I got a Pathfinder, so you know, I feel like I'm that. I got a sound system in my car. I'm bumping it,
right.
and they pull up beside you and be like, "Yo, knock on your window, nigga, turn that shit down."
Wow.
You know what I'm saying?
That's regular people.
Just regular random street right there, boom. Like, and it's funny because you like, where the hell am I at? So
Right.
North Dakota scarred me a
So
lot.
it was like a culture shock for you, right?
It's a culture shock, but then you had to deal with it. You had
Right.
to deal with it. So we go as groups. We had to go as groups when we went somewhere. You didn't see nobody. You didn't see us by ourselves. So
Right.
if we trying to go to the mall, we trying to get some new kicks. We trying to, because you mean everything on the base ain't always look good. So we trying to go down to the Foot Locker at the mall or this and that. You didn't go by yourself. Be like, yo, where you about to head to? I'm about to head downtown. Yo, who going with you?
Right.
In the '90s,
Right.
you know what I'm saying?
I do.
And then you know, just and it's funny because now you around people who never used to being around black people or people that's and not only that, you see the Native Americans that's there. So you have the Sioux. I think it's
Yeah.
Indian
Yeah.
population that's there too. And then you have the Hispanics, which is more Mexican that was there, and they didn't fuck with us either. That was
Right.
that was even worse. Um,
Really.
yeah, yeah. So you get on that side of town because they there because if not a lot of people understand North Dakota has nothing but just pure millionaires because of farmland. That is one of the flattest places you would find in the United States is North Dakota.
Right.
Um, And yeah, it was rough. You know, we had the University of North Dakota that was there. So, you know, the curiosity of, you know, Caucasian women when they see black guys, you know, white men ain't trying to feel that. So it was a setback. So when I got out of the military, dude, let a Caucasian person say something to me.
Yeah.
Let us say something wrong, and
Right.
I'm going straight to your mouth. I'm
Right.
right in the mouth.
Right.
And it was like no question. So it was hard because I became conditioned to deal with that on a regular basis.
Right.
So it brings back, yeah, it brings back, you know, anxiety to see how we are today. The fear, you know, you trying to adapt. We ain't doing nothing. Why you hate us so much?
Right.
Why the hell do you hate us? You know, that's the question that you need to ask them. It's like, why do you hate us so much? And
You know what? I think for me, B, a bigger question is why do you care?
I have to
Why?
because 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 it affects me at work. It affects me, you know, trying to. It can affect you in your neighborhood, especially if you in a good neighborhood. It affects you, you know, when you go places. You know, the stereotype of, you know, say for instance, if I got cash to go buy a brand new car, ain't nobody coming to talk to me because, you know, I have to. Why do I have to dress with a nice suit on for you to, you know, to get your attention? You know what I'm saying? We have to
Right.
go the extra mile to try to prove to somebody that we're bigger than we're more than what you think we are. You know, when it comes to
Again,
education, you know what I'm saying? So
again, that's my
if
question. Why does it matter? Because you're talking about stereotypes. Now you're talking about you have to not be a stereotype. I don't, you know what I'm saying? That's what you're talking about. You don't want to be a stereotype. You don't want to look like a stereotype. So you have to do the opposite in whatever manner not to be that stereotype. And to me, that was the whole point of why especially in the 20s and 30s that these black communities started to revive and to actually get good standing was because they didn't care what their white neighbors thought. But at the same time, because they did not care what their white neighbors thought, they allowed them to sneak in and burn down the house.
because I mean, but at the same time, that's a culture that we had to deal with. We had to deal with the Klan. So if the Klan can come put a damn cross and have a bunch of them hide in their face because they scared to let you know who they are,
Right.
but that's not a terrorist group. That's not a domestic terrorist group. But you look at the Black Panthers and I hate. I love it when I hear, you know, people talk, you know, talk bad about the Black Panthers. I'm like, you don't know your history.
Showed out.
You don't know your history. You're only going by what the media portrayed them to be.
You're only going by what the new branch has built itself to be more of a militia group outside of what they originally started at. Not saying it's bad. I think we need militia groups. But but it's interesting, B, that when you talk about a terrorist group, right? You know why they'll never be
Domestic. Make sure you.
domestic terrorist group. You know why they'll never be classified as that? So they're actually an arm of the government.
Mm,
You could go back to court cases and see where the Democratic Party specifically said that they created the Ku Klux Klan in open court.
they
So
did.
that's
They
so
did.
that's one of your political parties. So so it's an arm of the government. So how are they going to say that the government employs terrorists?
It never changed. Never changed. It's still doing it. So that's why I be. That's when it's kind of funny when people say this. And no, because I laugh when they say the South lost. No, they didn't. They influenced the whole country. The South did not lose.
Dude, the only difference between the North and the South was the accents. That was the only difference. The South, they were landowners, man. They were big landowners. And the North, the land that they owned was not as productive as the land of the South. So it was all about money. It was never about your life, never about your great grandma's life. They didn't care about Miss Millie, you know, oh, she working in that house. Because at the end of the day, she still worked in the house, whether she was a slave or not a slave. You know, so don't. The history is being swayed to make it look like that.
Maybe we need to do a piece to true Civil War. Because what we've been taught in school is not what you think it is. It is way deeper than that. Actually, a lot of stuff about that is just what we studied in school is way deeper than what we think it is.
True.
But we have to dig deep into it because, like for instance, in the 40s, let's say in the 50s, 60s, Eisenhower did not like people of color.
Mm-mm.
So when you form the FBI, to infiltrate all these, they hate when we come together. Holy shit, they hate when we come together.
Oh, you talking about J. Edgar Hoover?
My bad. I did say Eisenhower. Fuck it, he probably was that too. Hoover,
Yeah.
Hoover.
Yeah, J. Edgar Hoover.
But when they said he was actually colored too, and I'm like,
Mulatto.
Mulatto. So that
But
means
I mean, there was a lot of presidents. They just, they gave Obama credit for being the first black president, but there was a few that had Miss Millie in the family.
I mean, they'll say Abe Lincoln was the first.
Way before that.
But at the same time, again, we lost our country.
Right.
In 1976.
Right.
A new world order started within that. If you want to debate me about it, I'm not going to debate you. I'm just going to point books and I'm going to say, read for yourself.
Definitely.
Stop letting your high school education teach you what's true history.
I know, right?
And everybody understand it. You learn the same history over and over every year. So if it reciprocates in your mind, you believe in it's true.
It's called indoctrination. You've been indoctrinated.
Jeremy's favorite words, my boy Jeremy McKinney, indoctrination.
That's what it is. I mean, they got that. If you look at after World War II, they took a lot of the German scientists, and they wasn't prisoners of war. They took these scientists.
Operation Paperclip.
Right, and they integrated them into the United States. Just ask some of your great grandparents when kindergarten started. Kindergarten didn't start until after the Germans, because the Germans used kindergarten to indoctrinate their children in the process of what it was to be an Aryan. So they used the same process in the United States afterwards. It's indoctrination. Black children, you could go ask anybody that does like statistics, and they'll tell you what area of the United States is going to be large in crime by the time children are in the third grade. So obviously there's a process of indoctrination. If you know by the third grade if these children are going to go to jail or not. It's not hard. It's just we don't want to pay attention to what's right in front of us.
Not only that is, some people just don't know how to teach us. Period. I went through struggling. I went through school struggling until I got out and started reading for myself. It's like, man, they was teaching me this. You know what I'm saying? Or it's certain ways. Not everybody can be taught the same.
That's true.
It's more like a assembly line. You teach everybody the same thing, and we'll pick out who's good enough to deal with what we teach and who's not. Some who catch on to it and who don't catch on to it. And they're right. I'm not saying they're kind of right.
No. You dead on point. And the reason for that, man, there's like they classify 5 different ways that people learn, right? And so if they're giving you only one way all the way through school, it tells you that's indoctrination, right?
Mhm.
A lot of children get misdiagnosed as learning disabilities or what do they call it, special ed, when actually it's just that they learn different, you know, and that you could be hindering a child that's on a genius level because you don't know how to teach the child. You know, man, I don't know how many discussions I had about, I think this is my personal opinion, but all children are born genius.
Yeah, you have to train them not to be.
Yeah, it's just whoever they're taught by is who limits them. You know, think about it from this perspective. When you look at basketball players, football players, baseball players, any athlete, you know, those moves that they make, right? Do you think they're thinking about it? Do
No,
you
it's
think,
a reaction.
I'm gonna think and I'm gonna make this move and I'm gonna make that move? It just happens, right?
Mhm.
But that's because your synaptics is firing quicker than everybody else's synaptics are firing. So that means that you have instantaneous thought before anybody even thought about what you were gonna do.
It's like you slow down time.
So that's genius, man. When you see that, that's genius because it's your brain that causes your muscles to move.
Because a lot of them say, I don't know how I did that, or I'm just in a zone.
Right, I'm in the zone. That's genius. You don't even think. You're just doing it because your mind is firing at a level that others can't even achieve.
And that's the sad part about it because accept us for who we are. Stop putting us in this box of this is what you're supposed to be. You don't even know who you're supposed to be,
Right.
but you try to tell us who we need to be. Y'all need to be this way. You need to be that way. If you just follow what the police says, don't argue back. Who said
Right. Just
that?
be subservient.
Who said the hell the police is always right? We
Right.
we are seeing it tons and tons of time. It's dudes is in prison now. They've been in prison for 30 years and come to find out they was innocent this whole damn time.
Right.
So that lets you know that this whole just judicial system is not built for us. It's built to put us in back into a slave-minded culture.
Right.
I need you to go to prison so you can work for me. Because you're gonna get a job. I done been there.
Right.
You're gonna get a job, dog. Day one, you're gonna get a job. In other words, either you're gonna cook, you're gonna do this, you're gonna do that. It's free labor. And then, you know, I hate this. If they did it this way, it would have been this way. Or if they just followed the rules. What rules? It's rules of, but if I have money, the rules change.
Right.
If my family is in a political system or they're wealthy and they contribute back to the community, things change. I slap you on the hand. But if you have nothing, hey, he ain't got nothing. Though he's not a help to our community. He's not a help to bring us more wealth.
True.
So that's the part that pisses, it irritates me, and I'm only giving you my opinion. So, but at the same time, when are we gonna wake up and realize stop letting them tell us what our kids are?
Hey, B, I'll tell you something too. This is not just my opinion, this is fact. Um, when you look at when you talk about those people that were incarcerated wrongly,
Mhm.
like like I think it was in Chicago maybe 10 years ago when they had all the DNA testing, and then like 300-400 people were released
Mhm.
because they were wrongly accused and wrongly convicted. Now, one person, when you talk about a justice system that has a judge, that has 12 peers listening to the story, you have two sides to the story that's being told. by the defense, by the prosecution, and yet 300 to 400 people were wrongly accused. I mean, so that tells me that the scales are tipped in the wrong way. Here's another fact. 90% of people that are convicted is through plea bargaining. They don't go to trial. Only 10% of the people that are in jail go to trial. So that tells me that through fear, you've incarcerated a lot of people. By intimidation, you've incarcerated a lot of people. If everybody that's been arrested this year said that they wanted to go to trial, it would shut down the justice system. They wouldn't have the ability to hear all the cases.
Because they always throw that maximum sentence. You will get this if you.
Right, and they intimidate you. But if you take these 3 to 5 to 10 years, you won't get 30 to life. And so you see people plea bargaining, and they may be innocent. They just afraid that they may be railroaded to get life in prison.
Or they give you a shitty public offender.
Exactly.
So we don't have money.
But they still got you taking the plea, even with a public defender.
So have I done prison time? Yeah. What was charges? Driving under suspension. 6 months.
Right.
Third time in 10 years you get caught. Boom. Put him in prison.
Right.
But have I had any car accidents in my life? Nope.
Right.
Have I, did anything crazy? I mean, do I speed? Yeah. Hell, everybody speeds.
Everybody speeds.
But, but then at the same time, when it happened, I lost my job. I didn't have money to pay for my tickets. One judge was like, hey, didn't we just see you in here before? I was like, yep, the same cop pulled me over. It's like, well, wait a minute. What's going on? Is it a conspiracy? And the cop was like, cop was not even there. The DA was like, no, he did this wrong. He was like, wait a minute. So how you get caught in the same place?
Right, by the same person. Right.
But it's sad. I can only give you my experiences because it's a ton of people out there, and then they wonder why I just look the way I look and I am the way I am. It's not, it have nothing to do with intimidation. It's just, dude, I'm just fed up with this shit.
Right.
You're just not gonna push me around like I'm some ignorant big dude that don't know nothing.
Right.
But when you school them on something, where you get that information from, or that ain't what I learned in school, that's your fault.
Right.
Indoctrinating. You see all these Trump supporters now, it's under indoctrination. You really don't understand what's truly going on. Do we have the best choices of the two? We fuck damn it, we damn if we do, damn if we don't situation. A lot of dudes don't vote because it's like, if I vote, I'm choosing a side. If I don't vote, well, I can't say, that's who I voted for, or this ain't the person that I voted for. It's, and then when you say, well, you can't why you complaining you didn't vote? Is really voting helps? It helps on a local level. When it comes to being a president, you might well throw that shit in the trash because that's all electoral.
Right.
So everybody under that, other than the president, voting, yes, is important, especially in the local. And that's something that being part of this, what we do, made it important for me to start paying attention to my local officials.
Right.
Because they will impact you. They will impact your children.
Yes.
And being in Philly, ooh, man, go to the courthouse downtown. Yeah, that DA don't even listen to the damn word you say. I had a lawyer that sat there and proved the cop that he was wrong on a ticket. And he was like, hey, this is what the cop said. I'm gonna believe the cop before I believe you.
Right.
And the lawyer's like, what? It's like you're not even making sense.
Right.
Like, hey, he's not here to. He wrote it down, so he's not here to witness it. You know, I'm taking his word over your word. That's how the system is.
Exactly.
So the cops is getting held at a level, and they abuse it. Point blank, they abuse it. Sorry, y'all. And it's not all cops. To my cop family that's out there, it's not all of y'all, but it's some out there that will take advantage of the situation. It's a power thing. Do I want to be a cop? Did I ever thought about being a cop? No.
Thought you was gonna say yeah.
Hell no. Never thought about it.
But I mean, what you got to look at too, you know, you hear that all the time. Not all cops are bad, which is true. There's nothing that's all anything. Um, but at the same time, it's a fraternal order. And they're sworn to protect each other. Um, and so even those that are wrong get protected because it's part of the oath. Everybody wants to toe the line so they don't get in trouble, so they don't lose position, so they don't lose their job. So there's a lot of pressure on these guys to look the other way.
They got working their pension. They working on that pension.
Exactly.
And I'm gonna tell y'all now, blue lives does not matter. It is a occupation. It is a job.
Right.
They can quit anytime they want to. Let's get that straight. Black lives, because this don't change. I can't take this off. I wouldn't take it off if I had an opportunity to take it off. I'm proud of who I am. But we're not saying that our lives matter more than you. It's just the fact that we just trying to get on an equal understanding of just we're here. You see us, respect us. We're here. So I don't want to. Somebody tell me blue lives matter. I was like, oh, they can quit their job tomorrow.
Right.
It's a job.
True.
A doctor can quit whenever he wants to quit being a doctor.
True.
I can quit being an aircraft mechanic when I want to.
True that.
It's a occupation. It's not their life. Period.
True.
They come out of that blue suit every day. Every day.
True.
So when they leave work, they're not in the blue suit. When they get home, they take that blue suit off and take a shower. So don't tell me blue lives matter. It's an occupation.
Understandable.
Facts.
Understandable. I got you.
Or I posted, when it's all lives matter. When? When did it? When did it all matter? Stop.
Right.
And it stop because we telling you to see us, we here. I think it's just that movement. Yo, what are you about to eat, dude? It's more of a movement. Is they're knowing the secret is out. And I tell y'all need to watch Marvel movies a lot because they tell you a lot of shit that has been tremendous. Stan Lee got a lot of his stuff from, there's a lot of military stuff in his background in his movie. He literally shows you Operation Paperclip. He showed you that in actually Captain America, and he also showed you that in the first Avengers. They brought the Germans here. NASA is
The German program.
yes. So a lot of people got to understand is that damn, I can't get the word I want to say. The way that the Germans did what they did
Mm-hmm.
spewed over to what America is now. Because if you overseas and you're fighting, and that's another thing, dude. Y'all tell y'all number 45 to shut the hell up and start talking about veterans. Get that out the way. I'm sorry, it's on me. People risk their lives and fought for what they thought was the right thing to do.
Right.
Don't sit there because you dodged that people that got killed or people that got captured or losers and suckers. I didn't come from a positive place. I joined the military to get out of the city. I joined the military to give me a chance. I am an aircraft mechanic because I was in the military.
True.
Now, some people it didn't benefit like that. Some people it benefited them even greatly. So I don't like it when you talk about veterans and you make it seem like we're a bunch of idiots. Because not everybody is. I don't know some serious smart people that joined the military, and you'd be like, "Why did you join this?" I didn't want to go to college.
Right.
So this is. I hate this culture.
Which culture you talking about, B?
I hate this American culture that we in. I take that back. I hate this United States culture. Not saying it's American culture. No, it's the United States culture. It's a national culture
Right.
because we're not considered equal. It says it in the damn Constitution. We have to get into place and then you change these laws to men to benefit us. Other than that, this is what we're gonna have to deal with, man.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
It says it in the Constitution, and I'm thinking, John, in the beginning when it says all men are created equal, right?
Ooh.
And so you can't own slaves and pin all men are created equal, and then think, a few hundred years from now, just assume that we're talking about you.
Am I what I asked?
You know, that it doesn't happen like that.
But
There's an amended version that says the definition of what all men are.
give me a big spoon, son.
It stays the same. So
That dude, and that part right there. All men are created equal.
right,
All men are created equal. But within that same constitution, a slave is 1/5, 3/5 of a person. What's wrong with that picture? You just said all men are created equal.
you know what? What's interesting about that, B,
Mhm.
is because when most people look at that, they said 3/5 of a person, right?
Mhm.
And you say, well, they just put that in there because they didn't look at us as human, look at us as people, right?
Mhm.
But you got to look at it at that time in the United States, if you will, in America, that in the South, there were actually more melanated people than there were white people. And so if you counted all the melanated people as a full person, they would outvote everybody.
Mhm.
Down into 3/5,
Mm.
actually made the voting numbers smaller. So it made the political power smaller.
Actually, what they need to tell the truth is, we 3/5 of what they were. We were not. We were not Europeans. We were not. People got to understand. Europeans just didn't come here looking for. They didn't send their best.
Hmm.
They sent the ones they kicked out and say, "Yo, we don't even want to deal with y'all no more. Yo, y'all go over here. You can do what the hell you want." That's why you have the Revolutionary War, which is a three-part war, three different governments that was fighting. But that's a whole different story. So when they say we fight our independence, you have a bunch of radical people say, "Yo, I don't even want to be a part of that over there no more. We just do our own thing here. We can run our own rules. We can do whatever we want to do. We treat anybody the way we want to treat it." And now this is when you have to look at the indigenous people that was here. They took our land. I say our, you say our, so our ancestors' land. Because this wasn't just an empty ass damn parking lot.
No,
that they built or
it was an operating country. I mean, like I said, law, man. We didn't study law. We didn't we didn't understand the term when we signed ourselves away.
Mm.
When you read inscription on Ellis Island on the statue, you know that during that time it said, "Bring us your tired, your poor, your sick." You know, the ones that you don't want.
That's not your best. That's not
Because
your best.
no, because we want those because we need the numbers.
Mm.
They started in the late 1800s to the mid 1900s. They started flooding immigrants into the United States. That's why they was called the melting pot. Is because they needed to correct the numbers, balance it out.
Mm.
And so that's why the Homestead Act was put into place in the late 1800s. They were just giving millions of acres away as long as you came. They were, you look at the Indian Removal Act, you know, that wasn't removing what you call Native Americans. This was removing black people off their land. Melanated
But
people
grandparents lost their
gave
land.
them the right, and that act gave them the right to dispatch of them how they will. And that act is still being enacted right now. We still don't understand that removing Indians as we speak.
I don't know. I don't know about what's going to happen in Oklahoma. They fighting back on that one. The state of Oklahoma. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's it's going to be interesting seeing how that happens in the future.
we'll see. I
They're
mean,
going to
that's
push that back. They're going to keep pushing them dates back.
tell you what's interesting. There's a show called Watchmen.
Love it.
You know what I'm saying? But look at what it's talking about, B. Where are they at? Oklahoma.
Oklahoma.
Where are they at? Tulsa. I mean, just think about the premise of what the show is talking about.
No, the new show that's on that you might need to check out is Love Country. Lovecraft.
Lovecraft.
Lovecraft Country. Don't tell me you watch that too.
Of course. No, why?
I don't know, y'all. HBO is doing something. I don't know what HBO is trying to do,
Right.
but HBO is putting a lot of people in on this. Is showing a lot about the history that you thinking is fiction,
Right.
but it's nonfiction. Or am I saying that right? Yeah,
No, you're right.
what you think is fiction is actually nonfiction.
True.
Watchmen is telling you what happened.
Right.
And now we have this Lovecraft Country that's showing you a whole, that's a crazy show. I'm telling y'all now, you watch that, you better be open minded to what's going to happen because you don't know what's going to happen. But
Right.
is Hollywood trying to tell the truth now when they done lied in so many years before?
I think more so than telling the truth, they're actually portraying it as truth. Because they told a lot of stories. It just wasn't their stories.
True.
You know, they told you a lot of truth. You just didn't know it was your story.
True.
You know.
True.
I mean,
It's true.
I mean, it's amazing that, like, even with Shakespeare, you know, for hundreds of years, they never used a black man to play Othello when it says clearly that he was a Moor. And, you know, and more so than that he was in the military in Italy, in Venice, to be exact. So you're talking about if it was written in the 1800s, portraying something that was prior to the 1800s, look at how far that, you know, the Moorish or the melanated people were in government in Europe.
True. True. And when you wonder why Europe hates people of melanated color so much. But again, a lot of us don't, you don't want to get deep into their history.
Exactly.
Don't want to get deep into their history because it's not going to tell you true. You'll be confused, to be honest.
Right. Right.
Because it's who's teaching this history. Because I took a college course in history. I watched this dude skip plenty of spots. And I'm like, why are we skipping this? No, that's not important. I'm like, whoa, whoa. Because now you was like, wait a minute. I got a history teacher that's teaching
Telling you,
history and he's jumping over places in history.
right?
Cause
That's not important.
we went from Mesopotamian to what's that? Not it's after the Black Plague and after the Black Plague, the Renaissance.
Right.
And it's like, the fuck happened in the Renaissance? And then we jump from the Renaissance into the 700s, not the 700s, or when Constantine.
Right. 300s.
It's like, yo, what the fuck happened? What's going on? Well, wait a minute, we skipping spots?
Right.
Only telling that because you're skipping a lot of black spots.
Right.
That shows you who was running the show. But again, study Christianity, y'all. It's not what you think it is. You know, it's a lot deeper. It's deeper, but whew, I try not to get emotional. I try to stay out of my emotions when I talk about this because I have 6 kids, 3 beautiful daughters, 3 handsome sons, and I had to look at my middle one, and I'm like, I'm scared. I'm scared to put you out in these streets because I ain't scared of the streets. I'm scared of the person who's patrolling the streets
Right.
to look at you as a threat, and you're not a threat. You're intelligent. You're great.
Right.
You of good loins. You of good stock. You're important. You're our future. And they mowing these kids down, or they're putting guns in our hands so we can mow our own people down.
Right.
That's another thing about Chicago. Where they getting all these damn guns from?
Right.
Ain't nobody breaking in gun stores and taking all this. And a lot of them guns are military grade too. When you supply people to do your own bidding, it's no different than the CIA. Look at every country they went into and look how that shit backfired.
Yeah, the country backfire. True.
So everybody that we look at as terrorist groups, look who created them.
True.
I know we've been monitored and we probably gonna get put in Facebook jail. I don't care. Facts. We just gotta understand who, we gotta stop. We have to take these glasses off and start seeing things with real true vision.
Right.
We side vision a lot of stuff, man, and it's frustrating, man. And it's hard when you're trying to tell people that and they looking at you like, man, shut up. You ain't saying nothing. What you ain't saying is real.
Right.
You talking about that propaganda, that conspiracy. Okay.
Right.
Okay. When you got a dude that's in the place and say, black people, if you don't get to act up and learn your history, you're gonna be right back into that history.
That is true. It will repeat itself.
I can't say it'll repeat itself. It repeat itself if you didn't. It's kind of like your life. When you keep thinking you go everything revolving doors, everything is the same. I keep going through this because you ain't passed that test to go to the next level. It's like a video game.
I get that. Well, when I say repeat itself, everything has a cycle, right?
True.
And so if you don't understand that point of the cycle, it's going to keep coming around till you get some understanding of it. Mm-hmm. So when it repeats itself, it might not be the exact same history, but it's the exact same situation. Mm-hmm. It's the exact same thing you didn't understand. And so, until you can get some understanding or clearly see what it is that keeps happening in your life, you're going to keep missing it.
And to my non-melanated people, when you think about Make America Great Again, You have to understand the people of what they trying to say of greatness was not the most smartest people, period. Just to throw that out there to you.
But but
Right.
I mean, even that term, which I won't repeat, um, you got to think back, or do you ever remember it being great? Um, Great for who? Because even when you go back, if you go back too far, it wasn't even great for
You,
70% of white people. They struggled. I
they
mean,
were
they were
slaves. You know,
right,
slaves.
right. So I mean, you got to think about the time period that you're talking about, because it's not really that big of a time period if you even had something. Um,
Especially when we're talking about the United States, we're looking at least 300 years. If we're looking at 300 years, mm,
Almost, not yet.
not even 300 years.
No, it's not 300
So
years.
go study every decade and look at where you were, people. Look at where we were. There's no way in hell that we disintelligent and we just happen to come out of slavery in 1864.
Right,
And by 1865, 66, 67, we got people in Congress.
right,
We got mayors.
right.
You
You
got
got doctors, you got lawyers, you got engineers. Yeah.
you got to understand, if you never notice, everybody that got hung either had a suit on, who was lynched, or they had overalls on. So if you had overalls on, that means that you was a farmer and you had your own land and they wanted your land.
True,
Got it, y'all.
true.
Got to look deeper into this picture. We're scared to look deep into this picture. We're gonna see it.
It's, it's an interesting thing too. It's because a lot of people, um, like with today,
Mhm.
a lot of people think that that your president is trying to incite a race war, right? Um, and that's interesting to me because they're trying to stir up a race war because they don't want you to understand that it should be a class war.
It's always been that.
But I'm saying, think about this. If it's a class war, that means all black people, 75 to 80% of the white people are on the same side.
Mm,
If it's a class war,
true.
because the upper echelon, the upper 20, is split at 19 to that 1%. So you have, uh, in essence, 90% of America on the same side.
United
So
States. United States. Make sure you say United States.
the United States, there you go. Because they don't want you to understand that it's a class war that you should be having. It's a class war that has been uh, projected against you. It's a class war that's being done, in the background. But they want you to think race, 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 race. But race is a simple thing that started a little over 100 years ago. I mean, there was no race problems. And what I mean by race is the whole black and white issue, um, maybe 150, 170 years ago. So I don't know. We have to study more to understand the situation that we're in. Because if you look, like, you talked about the Revolutionary War, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, after the part that they broke away from England happened, uh, the indigenous was still at war with those that called themselves these expats, or these British that had broke away, or these Germans that had broke away, or these Swedish people that had broke away, that created these colonies, because uh, I mean, this war is big, so they throw different names out at it. You talk about your Haitian Revolution. You talk about the Gullit Wars. You talk about the Indian Wars. You talk about the Seminole Wars. But they
Spanish.
were actually all the same war. They were all the same war. They were indigenous people fighting to get back what was stolen from them because they had allowed the people that they thought were coming in to be with them to sign into law their lives away.
Facts.
So,
Facts.
so that's what you've seen this whole time. Because think about it, in 1865, that's when they had the civil rights movement. You hear what I said?
Yeah, that is the first one that we don't know, and we keep thinking.
Right. In 1865 is when they had the civil rights movement. Why did they have the civil rights movement? Because they were lied to. And so now they wanted their rights back that were taken from them. Not when they were slaves, but when they were citizens. Come on, man.
You're right. You're right. And yo, we need to get Alex on here. Alex be throwing out some stuff. Man, Alex, you need to come on here and tell us how you really feel.
I know, right?
Talking about Rosa Parks, it was just 50 years ago. She was being arrested because she didn't want to sit on the back of the bus.
True.
So it ain't been that long.
Right. Right.
You know, we look at Tulsa. That's what, 1924. Rosewood, 1920s.
Yeah, 19.
Movies, all these movies that we keep looking at was in the same time period. You know, Wilmington, 1930s. What was going on to the fact is you see them go into a city and burn it down and then start over. New York City, it happens. That happened in
New York City, Chicago, Atlanta, LA, all these cities burned around the same time in the early 1900s. Here's an interesting thing to you. So Tulsa, let's take Tulsa for example. So Tulsa, if those of you that don't know the story, this is what the Black Wall Street, one of the Black Wall Streets in America was between Glen Street, Alpine Street, and Glen Street, Alpine Street, and was it Pine Street, I think. So they had all these black businesses. Any kind of business you can think of was there, movie theaters. They had their own police. They had their own fire departments. They had indoor plumbing. Which
yeah, but they got to explain why they really wanted that land, though.
Right. A lot of people didn't have indoor plumbing. They had oil. They had oil rigs too.
That's what they don't tell people. Oil rigs. So they were sitting on a bunch of oil.
Of course. Now here's the thing. Now think about the year that you were talking about in the 20s, in the early 30s, right? So you were talking about these black people that were prosperous, right?
Yeah, we were. Yeah.
Okay. But what happened in 1929?
Oh, I forgot what act came in. Wait a minute.
No. Think about this. I'm gonna say the Great Depression. So you had America that was suffering during this time.
Ooh.
You had America that didn't have during this time.
Never paid that no attention.
You had America that was struggling to eat at this time. But yet here you are, you have Black Wall Street, and you have these black people being prosperous. You have these black people they had their own cars. They had their own bus lines. They had their own movie theaters. They were not affected by the Great Depression. And you think that non-melanated people is going to stand for that? No.
We struggling. We
struggling. They about to struggle. We about to burn all that down.
Never looked at it that way. Never. Thank you. Never looked at it that way.
Yeah, like I told you, man, anytime you're talking about anything, history, people forget time. We leave time out of the equation, everything. You got to look at when other events were happening that coincided with what's going on that you're talking about. So you talking about America was struggling at this time, but they was not struggling. They were actually prospering. oil, they were about to make some deals in other countries to send oil to other countries. So, I mean, it's a lot that we don't understand about history because we force ourselves to look at it from the narrative of somebody else. We don't look at it.
One-sided story. One-sided
Right.
story.
You know, it's who's telling the story. You know what I'm saying? So the person that got away always gets to tell the story. And when they tell the story, they can be as heroic as they want to be because everybody else died. So I'm gonna tell the story and I'm gonna make myself the hero. And so you always got to look at who's telling the story to understand the narrative, because you gotta take the facts of everything that's around there and then put the facts together and stop looking at who's telling you the story.
Mic drop.
So I mean, it's absolutely interesting when you look at the time periods of all. Look at when the Harlem Renaissance took place during the 20s. So you're talking about still America struggling, but there was a Renaissance in Harlem.
Message. Keenan on the wings. Message.
And I mean, and this is not the only time that this happened. When you talk about the Reconstruction, so during the Reconstruction after the Civil War, after America was at war with itself, you see a lot of, that's when you talked about your black politicians, your black doctors, your black engineers pop up. So they went from slavery, couldn't hardly talk. Yells them, I get that cotton for you, boss. And so they went from that to eloquent speakers to where they could be doctors, lawyers, teachers, professors. In 1 year, there was this intellectual transition to where the switch clicked on and they stopped being Bubba and they became Bernard, right?
I mean, you got your Frederick Douglass, you have it was so many different people that they don't really tell you about that was very influential.
Yeah.
All right, see, boom, got me. No, because like the whole Harriet Tubman story is, I think is either it's a lot bigger or is it something that's missing out of it that, you know, they only tell us a narrative as a story.
Right.
You know, and then people like, for instance, Mr. K West will grab it and be like, oh, he just did this to do this. And it's like, how you know? It's because of the history that it was told you?
I don't even want to get into Kanye, but
I mean, it's the same.
But I will say this: he made some valid points, and
depends on which one.
What I'm talking about when he's talking about Harriet Tubman.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying that I'm in agreement with him. I'm not saying what he's totally said was right, but I mean, there's valid points inside of it. Even when he says slavery was a choice, you got to look at it from a different perspective than somebody just being beat with a whip. They have no choice in what they do, right?
Because a lot of them fought and died.
But the person that chose to revolt, the person that chose to fight for the people that were against slavery, they had a choice in slavery. And they chose to fight instead of choosing to stay. So if you take it from that perspective, I understand what he's talking about. But somebody that's enslaved has no choice because you're already enslaved. You know what I'm saying? But
that's a whole different story.
That's a whole different story.
Because we do have a choice. Either you fight or you, and are we at that point now? Do we stand up and fight?
Right.
Or we choose to accept what we see. In other words, it's not a new norm. It's just what you are just seeing. It's been there the whole time. It's just in your face. The fact is, we're not hiding it no more.
Right.
They keeping it 100 right now.
My thing is, with the whole fighting, standing up for yourself. I get that. I love that. I think that's, there's no greater cause than to stand up for yourself. But my thing is be able to articulate what it is that you're fighting for.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Don't just tell me you're fighting for civil rights. What are civil rights? Why don't you have them already?
Why you don't have human?
Who's keeping you from having civil rights? I mean, think about it. As a human being, who's keeping you from being equal? You said all I want to do is be equal. To who? To what? What are you not equal at? You know what I'm saying? Everybody has a cell phone. What are you not equal at? So be able to articulate what it is that because if you don't have the ability to articulate the problem, you'll never have the ability to articulate the solution. Because you ever had the child, especially when they were like real little B and just learning to talk, and they're crying, and you say, well, what do you want? They just keep crying, or they'll point, but they can't articulate what it is that they really want. They know their emotions are hurt. They know they're upset, but they can't articulate what it is that they truly want to get the point across to you. So now you have to assume what it is you want. Oh, you want something to drink. So you give them something to drink, and it may pacify them, but it may not have been what was truly the problem.
True.
You know what I'm saying?
True.
So we have to learn to articulate what it is that we want. What do you want out of this Black Lives Movement? Because man, we've been fighting
this for like what, 50, 60 years, and we still doing it.
Yeah, but I'm saying it's like I had a meme come up that I looked at. It was talking about Black Lives Matter, and it's like 5, 6 years old. So we've been doing this that long? Yeah, dude, I'm telling you, yeah. So
I mean, I see what you're saying, but it ain't true. It just took up a new management.
No, I ain't talking about George Soros movement, Black Lives Matter. I'm just saying, I'm just using that as an example. I'm just saying from like you said, 50, 40 years, 60 years ago. I mean, why are we still fighting the same fight? If we're still fighting a 60-year-old fight, man, we ain't gonna win. I'll tell you, we ain't gonna win. Because you hadn't progressed. You have the same argument. Go back and put on some of Malcolm X's speeches.
Even old Martin Luther King's
They're from the same time era. So I mean, you got the same arguments that's happening right now today. So obviously we don't have the leadership that has articulated a solution. How can we still have 60-year-old problems, B? For that matter, why we still got 160-year-old problems?
Facts.
Because the first civil rights movement in the 1860s is the same that happened in the 1960s. It's the same that's happening right now. Why?
That's why everybody have to understand the Civil War was happening for a reason. We was tearing a lot of shit up. To the fact that they was like, hey, yo, you better set these people free, man. They ain't playing no more. We better accept them as who they need to be. It's kind of like that's the only way you can get their attention, because that's what they used to do to conquer and take over, cause chaos.
Right.
And when they see us causing chaos, them must like, oh shit, they playing by our rules. They playing under our rules of engagement. So, yeah, man, it's
you know
what I'm saying. You know how I'm feeling.
Yeah.
You know how I'm feeling. And it's, again, I have boys. I have a teenage and a preteen, and I'm trying to show them and teach them to play both sides of this coin. And that's the scary part. So, Alex, stop playing and get on, man. I'm calling you out, Alex. You need to join us one day, man.
Right.
So, I don't know what else to say, man.
I mean, there's not really anything else to say, man, and that's why, like the last time we were on, that's why I even asked about leadership, and having a plan going forward, because we shouldn't be 160 years in, having the same discussion. Why are we not being treated equal? Why is there racial injustice? Why is the court system don't treat me the same as somebody else? Why is that 160-year-old problem? Why?
Facts. Facts.
So, I mean, I know, and I say I don't know, but I do know why.
It's just hard to get everybody on the same page.
Exactly.
Everybody is on different levels. Me and you can have a strong discussion about it.
Right.
A lot of people going on and he's gonna be like, well, tell us what we need to do.
Right. Exactly.
It's kind of hard to put you on that level where we at.
I mean, I can't put you anywhere. Read it for yourself. Study it for yourself. When you read, be open-minded enough to know that. Listen, there's a difference between faith and truth.
Ooh.
Right? There's a difference between faith and truth. There's a difference between what you believe and facts. You hear that? There's a difference between what you believe and facts. You know, it don't matter what you believe, the facts are always going to be the facts.
Facts. True.
And it don't matter what you have faith in. The truth is always going to be the truth. The truth has been the same since 1865. The facts have been the same since 1865. But your faith and your belief has kept you confused for 100+ years.
Dude, that's deep. And that's dangerous.
It is, but it's the truth, which ain't gonna change. But
if you change policy, see, people got to understand. They pushing out fear because they have fear within themselves.
Fear controls.
They are scared as hell. They are scared of this big black boogie monster groups that's coming together.
Right.
Because once we start getting on the same page, that means frequency, that means vibration that gets bigger. We'll become something like King Kong in their minds. That's how big we are. And we was like, no, we just came together as a people. And we can't, and that's the problem. We got to keep them separated because if they form like Voltron, shit's gonna break. It's really gonna get ugly here. And I think that's what they're afraid of us coming together. So you got to keep us apart. You got to keep us apart. And you got to keep us confused.
Yeah. Here's the thing, G.
I'm listening.
You know, us coming together, that's such a misnomer, right? Us coming together. Because we're together
Be on
right
the same
now.
page. Be on the same page.
Right.
Everybody agreeing, but just
Right.
everybody understanding we on the same page, same cause.
But you know how, because of fear, that keeps us from bonding together. You know, whether it be fear of ourselves, whether it be fear of retribution, whether it be fear of losing jobs, whether it be fear of being locked up, or whatever your fear is. You know, that tends to be what keeps us apart is fear. You know, and it's amazing that fear is imaginary. it's only in your mind.
Mm-mm.
That's the only place that fear exists. It don't exist anywhere outside of your mind. And so if we train our minds to have more courage than we have fear, because obviously fear is not going to go anywhere. So you have to have more courage than fear to get change.
And that's where your foundation is. That's why you have to build a strong foundation individually
Right.
before we become together as a group. You got to start with a foundation. If your foundation is not strong, well, you're always going to be scared because you're not stable. You're not,
Right.
you're not sturdy. You're not strong enough to carry yourself. You always going to think in your mind, I'm sinking. I'm one disaster away from being this or being that. I'm worried about what people are going to say about me. I'm worried about what my peers is going to say about me. We worry about, like you was telling me, why do you care?
Right. And
Yeah.
that, like I said, that what you just mentioned is inside of your own mind.
Mm-hmm.
Nowhere else. Your worries are inside your own mind. And so we do so much to defeat ourselves. We do more to defeat ourselves than the enemy could ever do to us.
A lot of people can't look in the mirror.
Right. So Michael Jackson, my brother, man in the mirror. But it's just so. Listen, we put our faith into things that that cause us to fall. Because we don't have faith in each other. We have faith in something that's imaginary.
Mm.
And I see you every day, but I have no faith in you. Something I never see in my lifetime, I got all my faith in. And we're the only race that does that.
Ooh.
Does that not tell you something? Because if the faith that you're putting into nothing was so great, you wouldn't be at the bottom.
Facts.
So, but we ain't even gonna tip that apple cart over tonight. But you gotta realign how you think about things. You gotta realign how you see things. You gotta realign what's real in your life. Fear is not real, but danger is. And we deal with danger on a daily basis. So you have to come up with a plan to subside the danger, not the fear, the danger. We got to alleviate the danger that's in our lives.
Mm.
So until you can tell me how you articulated this plan on how to get rid of the danger, don't tell me about your fears. I don't care. They manifest in your own mind.
And that's where a strong foundation comes into play. You got to be rooted in something. I don't even care if you feel like you're rooted in religion or recruited in indoctrination. If you're not rooted and stand firm in what you is, you defeated already.
You say if you're not rooted and stand firm in what?
Hell, you made me feel the hell I just said.
You said what you is. So
no, because that's what if you don't stand, if you're not standing on something that you have to have a foundation. Stand strong on your foundation, and nobody can defeat you off of it. If Christianity is your foundation, nobody is going to take you off of that. You have something to fight off of, and let you find out.
Going nowhere either. So I think, and the reason why I had you repeat that is because I think that's the major point. Who are you? You can't stand on who you are if you don't know who you are. You can't stand with me if you don't know who we are. So if you don't know who you are, I know you don't know who we are. And so what are we really standing on? You said, well, I stand on my faith. Well, who gave you that faith?
And do you really truly understand and know
Because
everything
that
about
faith,
that faith?
right, that faith didn't come from your grandmother. It came from somebody's owner and given to you.
Ooh,
So
for that.
So don't tell me you stand on who you are because you know who you are when you don't know where it came from.
Fact.
That makes no sense to me.
That was reading is fundamental.
It's fun to mental, right?
And that's funny though, when they talked, they was pushing that, read, read, read. But you gotta understand what they was telling you to read. They were teaching you to read a lot of fictional stories.
Right,
They weren't telling you to read some true history.
right,
You know, if you ever go to your school library, it is nothing they talking about of people uplifting themselves.
right,
You might find one or two. It might have Malcolm X, autobiography, which I strongly doubt that they will have.
right.
Because I mean, a lot of
But
people
go ahead.
no, because a lot of people are scared if I stand up, I'm gonna get knocked down, and that's the fear. That's
Right,
the fear that and me and you have talked about, and that's a fear that I have a lot too. The bigger we get, the stronger we get, we're gonna get knocked somehow, some way is we're gonna get knocked down, or we become a target, or
right,
we become a black extremist.
right,
You know, you're trying to uplift the people. Yeah,
right,
yeah. That's not an extremist. That's not a black extremist. It's no different than what a tweet can do.
right.
That's
But
not
let me
black.
ask you this.
Go
So
ahead.
why is it a problem when black people want to uplift themselves, but it's not a problem for anybody else? Any other group that wants to lift themselves up, there's no problem.
Because every part of their history is our history.
Now
Right?
we know that,
No, and that's what it is.
but
We tend to our history is everybody else's history.
you were talking about uh reading, right? And you were talking about reading fiction.
Mm-hmm.
But see, it's the thing is you could have an extensive vocabulary, and your vernacular can be outstanding. But if you don't understand the words that you're using, and what I mean by that is if you don't understand where the words come from, if you don't
Mm-hmm.
understand the true meaning of the words, but yet you can pronounce it, you know, you can enunciate every word that's said, but you don't know the true meaning of it, then you put these words in your life that bind you to certain things. You that we have to do that on another show, but
I
it's
know, do it. We are take this and we'll run with it and we'll blow a lot of people's minds up.
but
People heads will be like, bah,
right, right.
because
And it's just
we'll
amazing
feed you.
what you don't know, just by the words that you speak every day. What you don't know, what you bind yourself to by what you say you are.
Mm-hmm.
What contracts you come into when you call yourself black.
Mm.
Contracts you come into when you call yourself African American.
Mm.
You don't understand what you speak into your life every day. I think somebody asked what we're talking about. We were talking about social injustice from the start, but it's morphed into a lot more.
If you know who we are, dude, we start one way and then we just our energy just happens to just take us other places. We touch on other things.
I got to tell you this, B.
Mm-hmm.
So I was talking with my mother Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, we were eating, and we got to talking about her grandmother,
Uh-oh.
which is my great grandmother.
Mm-hmm.
Cause I was somebody might have mentioned black. I was saying, no, we're indigenous. You just got to find out, where you go back to.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, well, your great grandmother, she was born on a reservation. And I was like, oh yeah, the reservation is in Bat Cave, North Carolina. When I looked it up, it's Creek Indians. So yeah, so I mean, I can tell you that I'm indigenous, right now. I can tell you I'm not black. I can tell you I'm not African American. I can tell you I'm a Creek Indian, you know.
And people will fight you tooth and nail because
Yeah. But this woman was born and raised on a reservation because her father and mother were Creek Indians. So there you go.
There you go. And
But
again,
you don't know who you are, so if you don't know who you are, you don't know what you deserve. You don't know what your rights are. You don't know, and that's why you have so much social injustice. It's just like when you're in a relationship with somebody, right, B?
fact.
When you're in a relationship with somebody, you have to teach them how to love you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if we're going to live in a country together, you got to teach people how to treat you. Because if you don't, they'll treat you any kind of way.
You got to make them respect you.
If you don't teach them to respect you, if you don't teach them the boundaries, the lawful boundaries of your life, they're going to keep running over them. And they're going to keep treating you and mistreating you. And all you're going to do is say, why you keep mistreating me? Because you allow people to. People only do to you what you allow them to do.
Facts.
I think it was, you mentioned Frederick Douglass. I think he had a poem, The Measure of a Man. And to me, I'm at to paraphrase because it's been probably 20 years since I've seen it. But to paraphrase it, it says the measure of a man is not how strong he is or how much he can hold up, but the true measure of a man is when he's willing to say, that's enough. So that's the true measure of a man, is when you're willing to say, that's enough. You're not doing that to me anymore. We're not taking that anymore. And so that's the true measure of who you are. But you read?
Oh, because I was checking out what is Indian reservations in South Carolina.
Oh, okay.
Because I was really looking at Union, South Carolina.
Right.
And you have your Cherokee.
Yeah.
Kimbawa? No. CATAWBA. That was another Indian reservation.
Catawba?
Yeah, I think it say that. Yeah. Another.
No, those Catawba Indians, they ran from South Carolina all the way up through North Carolina.
Yeah.
That's Catawba County is like, that's why they call it that.
Oh, they call it Cherokee County.
Yeah, they call it Cherokee County. Then there's Cherokee County in North Carolina too.
So a lot of people got to understand they don't say that they say it for a reason.
Right.
But we tend to just look at it like, no, we came here on a slave ship.
No, you did not.
You did not.
You can keep believing that. More Europeans were brought to the Americas on ships than black people were, or what you call black people.
Mm-hmm.
Think about that. More Europeans were brought on ships to the Americas than what you call so-called blacks.
Wow. I just looked up South Carolina Indian, Native American, Indian tribes that's in South Carolina. Holy crap. Boy, this is looking at least 25 to 30 different types of Native Americans.
Right. So why is there only one reservation if you had 30 different tribes? So where these people go?
Kept moving down to Florida. They was getting pushed.
Mm-hmm. Their names were reclassified.
True, that's right. It was considered either Negro.
Yeah, they became colored or Negro. And that's why, because think about it, you can't move 30 tribes, dude. It's easier to reassign who they are. All you have to do is use your pen to do that. It
Yeah.
just depends. Reassign the name from Indian or Native American or indigenous to color, black, Afro, whatever name that they use. So a lot of people we done fell for the okadoke and don't understand it. Martin Luther King even spoke about it. Malcolm X spoke about it. But they don't play those speeches. Or if they play the speeches, they go past it so quickly you don't really understand what they're saying. Because you don't have the context to understand who indigenous people were.
And that's why they push the census so strongly. And why it's a federal. We need to know who's out there.
Right.
And again, a lot of our parents was either considered mulatto, Negro. Basically, that was it. If you look at a census, you never really see anybody saying they are Native American. It's
right.
either mulatto, which I can show you on my grandma's side. Mulatto, strongly mulatto.
And that's not just black and white mix.
No, it's just your skin complexion.
Right.
You could be black as hell. I mean, come on, y'all. We know albinos, they are black, but they just don't have the pigmentation in their skin. But again, we won't know that because we only go by what we was taught here. We was raised to learn. We got to break out of that cycle, man.
Exactly.
Cycle. I'm glad that it's kind of like you have to unplug yourself out of the matrix.
Yeah. Right.
So, oh man, we are going to hit that 2 mark. Yep, we're about to hit that 2 mark, man.
All right.
So let's go ahead and get our final thoughts out the way, my brother. I guess I'll give you mine. Again, we talking about social injustice, and we talking about you got to find out who yourself, so you can at least have a strong foundation within self. Also, meditate. Get connected to your subconscious, your real you, and understand you, and connect with your ancestors. Don't sit there and pray to God. Pray to your ancestors so they can give you true understanding of this lifestyle that we in, so they can give us they can be our helpmates through these tough times that we're going through, these troubled times, not tough. I don't know why the hell I said tough.
I wanted to say Trump times.
And it's funny that you've seen that, and that's another thing that they do. They're indoctrinating this dude as a god. Y'all do not see what they're doing. These people need somebody to follow. We need to stop being in that mindset that we have to find this one person to make this one movement for us to follow. Our ancestors didn't do it. We don't need to be doing it. And that's something that we need to study. We need to study our history and find out how our people were 100 years ago, 200 years ago. Understanding what went down and how they fought, because it was so many revolutions that was going down. Oh, they don't want to tell you because they thinking I need to keep you in that. Master, I got you. So never look at nobody look at you and like you beneath them. Always stand firm in who you are. Never let nobody tell you who you're not. Don't ever let nobody belittle you and make you feel beneath them. We are gods. We are powerful. We are smart. This country, everything has been invented, had our hands in it. And most of it was stolen too. But let's be who we need to be and stop letting everybody else tell us who we're not. So love yourself, know thyself. And that's what I got to say. Love and peace. Love and peace.
All right, man. You know what? It feels good to do a show with you again, B. We hadn't done a solo show in a long time.
Yeah, I got the text from my other brother. You know.
But yeah, man, for a final word, what I would say, especially about social injustice, is we have to learn to articulate what it is that we really want as a solution. Um, I think we could articulate what the problem is pretty good, but articulating what we truly want for a solution, and let it be our solution. Um, First time we done civil rights in the 1860s, it actually worked out pretty good, but you know we
It worked
lost.
out for 12 years.
Yeah, we lost a lot of political power in the process of being bullied. Um, and then again in the 1960s, the process worked again, but we integrated too many people into our struggle.
God, that's the hate.
When we integrated so many people into our struggle, they benefit more from civil rights than we do. They always say affirmative action. We hate affirmative action. Black people getting jobs. Black people do not get jobs through affirmative action. More white women get more jobs, get more grants, get more loans, get more businesses started than any black people in the United States. I mean, you can go look that up. That's not me talking about it. That's the facts. So social injustice, how do we stop it? We got to get the ability to say what it is that we want as a people and stick with it as people, not integrating anybody else into your struggle. Fine, if you want to support us, please support us, but don't integrate into the struggle. We die by ourselves. You know, when you look at these black men and women laying in the streets dead, they're laying by themselves. So the suffering and the struggle, allow that to be with the people that's trying to get on good standards. Please support, please be with us, but don't integrate yourself into the struggle. Man, until we do it again, man, we're gonna do it when next Friday or this Friday coming up. So we'll get ready for another show.
Alex, get on, man. Stop playing with me.
Yeah, we'll get Alex on.
Keep watching your comments, man. Jump on in here, man.
We'll get him on. Other than that, man, it's been good. Peace.
Peace.